I'll let Mark share. I just thought, there's someone we never knew before.
Morning, gentlemen. My name is Mark. Hey, it's great to see this kind of a turnout. I was looking out my door this morning. I'm like, oh man, the plow. I swear the plow driver picks up all the snow from the neighborhood and then puts it in front of my driveway. So I kept sending them texts away, like hinting. I was like, are we still doing this morning? Is everybody else be able to get out there? And so I'm going to do a little thing here. I was asked by Hans here if I wouldn't do this little ditty called a 50-foot of rope. I stole this sermon from Francis Chan. He's a youth pastor in California who did this a number of times over the last 20 years. But it's really a good presentation on a concept that I think it's really important that we understand. And so I added a thing that's called a 2.0 part of this. And that was from a book that we just recently were doing called Leading Me. And so there's some good messages in that too, and I'm going to share that with you. So I'm going to start this out. I'm going to put one of these guys to work here. All right, Banana Kid. Oh, here you go. Can you hang on that for me? Just hold on to that. I'm going to come back to you. We're going to go on. So if we think about... Got it? All right. Almost. Banana. I'm going to come back to you here. If you look at this rope, and we think about, so I'm going to have you let go of that, and I'm going to have you hang on to that. So we'll let go of there. Now, if you think of this rope, and this rope isn't 50 feet long. Imagine this rope goes all the way around the world. Because what this is my eternity line. This is my timeline. And what I mean by that is that this signifies my eternity. We can look at that. Thanks. That's called a daisy chain. That's how you wrap up a really long rope and make it really short. So if I look at this, this eternity line, this red part is my life here on earth. This is the time that I get. Average age for people in America is about 78 years old. So this is what I get compared to this eternity. And I spend so much time on this 3 or 4 inches of rope. And I work about 50 years average. Start working when I'm 16. If I retire when I'm 66, 50 years. Average American age 78, so it gives me about 12 years afterwards. So I spend all my time focused on, am I going to go to school? Am I going to get a job? Am I going to work? How much money am I going to make? Where am I going to live? What kind of house am I going to have? Am I going to get married? Is my wife going to be hot? Am I going to have a lot of kids? Are we going to have to go to more school? We got more kids. Where are they going to go to school? What kind of house am I going to have? What kind of truck do I drive? Do I get to go bow hunting? Do I get to go hunting? Do I get to go fishing? And I'm going to work and save and work and save and work and save and work and save and work and save until I get about right here, and then I can retire. And then I don't have to work. And then I can go chase the kids around and watch the grandkids and just hang out and then go. I'm going to need more money when I retire than when I do now. Because I need to be entertained. So if I'm going out to breakfast with buddies, or I'm going to lunch with buddies, or I'm going golfing, or I'm going to do all kinds of stuff to entertain myself, I'm going to need a lot more money. But I focus how much on this. And I haven't given any thought to this. All of this. I haven't even thought about because I've been so focused on just that. And so we think about it that there is no promise for any one of us for tomorrow. This could happen anytime. For some people it can be here. But if you think about our journey, and you think about how much effort we put in this, you go talk to a financial planner. Does he plan you for this? Is this anywhere in his financial planner? No, he plans it till you retire or when you die, and then how many kids get the money and how they divide it up. They don't plan for any of this. We don't. Because we're so focused on all of this. So when I think about that, and my brother called me and he said, "You're a kind of slow learner, aren't you?" And if you hear something often enough, you start to believe it. So when I turned to Christ when I was 57, I told my brother, I said, "Hey, I'm a Christian, I got baptized." And I figured he was going to say, "Well, you've always been a slow learner." Instead he said, "Well, it's about time." My sister cried because she had been praying for me to get Jesus in my life. And I think about the life I had, and at 19 I joined the volunteer fire department. I joined a volunteer rescue squad. I joined a volunteer ski patrol at Wilmot. And I did a lot of things for free, but I got free education out of it. So I said, I'm gonna go do that. And I got a job working in the emergency room. And they said, you know, if you go to school for an RN, we'll pay for that. I'm like, okay, I will take free stuff. And so I focused so much on building my career and my education background and all this and all of this. And at any time did I ever look over my shoulder and thank God for having my 6. And I had been in some situations where that's the only reason why we got out of there. That's the only reason. We had a fire at Red Lobster in Racine. That's not our area, that's the city of Racine fire. We took it because the call came in. It's 3 blocks from our station. We came in on that, we already said the fire was already breaking through the roof. That's an open truss building, and open truss buildings are big, expansive areas. And if you get a fire impinging on those trusses, they don't last very long. So the rule of thumb is if you go into their building and you start making a hit and you're not getting anywhere in 10 minutes, you get out. And we decided to get out. And we just hit the door with the nozzle coming out and that whole roof came down. Wow. That was a lucky call that we got out when we did. And so I think about that, I think if you had a friend that came over to your house, helped you reshingle your garage, or came and helped fix your water heater, or came and cut your grass because you broke your leg and you couldn't cut your grass, and never once that you never thanked them, or offered them a beer, or a pizza, or when you told your buddies about something, you didn't even include him in the story, even though he was there. You never even included him. How long do you think that friend would stick around? They wouldn't. And yet, I'm 57, and every time there was a close situation, I never even looked around and said thanks. He was like, dude, you're not that good, you're not that lucky. It's about me. But he never gave up on me. He never, ever gave up on me. So now at 57, when I realize that, and I get to men's group and I start to understand this, and I start reflecting on it, I feel guilt. I feel like this guy has been there forever. And I never once acknowledged him. And so now when I try to learn to pray, my prayers are always, I still got a long way to go just for thanking you for all the times that I never did. So I think forward to that, and I look at this now and I said, you know, one of the messages I'd love to share is that we never know when this is going to end. But we know it will. At some point in this short life. And what are all the phrases that they say? You're not here for very long, it's a short life, live it up, enjoy yourself. But the fact that we know that there's so much more to this, that then we should focus on that as well. We have our needs that we need to focus on our family. We need to do those things. But we also need to focus on God and how He plays a role in it, because this is where we're at forever. And where do you want to be? So there's a lot of controversy to that and say, where do you end up? Are you at front row seats at the stage and God's on the stage? Or are you up in the nosebleed section where you can barely see Him? I don't know if that's happened. I don't know what you're talking about in the men's group. So you just get into heaven? Do I get into heaven? If I have a purpose-driven life with God, would I not have a purpose-driven eternity with God? Is there something that He has in store for me? That He's preparing me through my life? So when I get there, He goes, I'm glad you're here, Mark. I got a spot for you. See these latrines over here? You only got 5. This section right here. If you can make those spotless, I'll give you a few more. So, is that where I want to be? Is that what happens? I don't know. I don't know if anybody can tell us that. But I do know because like I'm right here, I'm 63, so dang, I'm like here. And so for me, it's like I've had the opportunity to teach paramedics and firemen and groups of big 150 people, because I knew what I was talking about, and I did my homework, and this stuff, I'm a rookie at. There are a lot of you guys here that have been a lot further on your journey than I have. And so I'm not a pastor, I'm not a preacher, but I'm sharing with you my thoughts and how I look at what I can do with what I have. Like Jeff Allhite says, you know, there's more light behind you than there is in front of you. It makes you think about what can I do with the time I got left? And we know that, here's the other concept, because you think of, okay, so if I want to have a life of service and help, I'm going to show you what, part of what Steve Brown that did this says, am I doing this all because I want to get to heaven? Because if that's it, is it, I'm just still thinking about me? So if I'm doing this, and the concept is I just want to get into heaven. I'm going to help you out. Don't worry about it. You don't have to pay me or anything because I'm just stacking chips, you know, so that I can. It still can't be just about me. It's not about you, right, John? It's not about you. It's never about you. I find a number of people that I work with in the many years that I work, is that when they're having an issue, a lot of times it's because something they want. And if you start your day, every day saying, what do I want? More than likely your days, you're going to be disappointed. But if I start my day and say, what can I do for others? You're always going to find opportunities to do that. There's always going to be chances to do that. And at the end of the day, and I'm going to tell you about my God bubble. At the end of the day, can I look back and say, I did what I set out to do this morning. I feel pretty good about that. Is that my joy instead of happiness? Did I make myself happy? Or did I make other people happy? And in that, God says, you did a good job today. You're going to feel good about yourself. That's better than any kind of money you can put in my hand, to know that. So when you think about this, and I said, okay, Mark, I get it. You've shown us this concept about where we're at. So what do we do about that? Where do I go from here? Knowing this thing now, where do I go from here? I'm glad you asked. So I'm going to show you this. All right. So there's this book called Leading Me. Steve Brown has written this, and really this thing is, I started reading this to my wife, and she goes, it really makes you look internally about yourself. And I said, honey, I realize that I have the emotional depth of a teaspoon. I mean, that's what, I'm just not that complicated of a guy. What we talked about is a dashboard. So now I have a truck. I love my truck. I tell Tom, that's my God bubble. Here's my God bubble. The reason why my truck is my God bubble is because I can control the temperature, I can control the seat, I can control the sound, I can sit in there like an astronaut. I can put K-Live on if I want to sing to it. I can put a sermon on my phone because I got Bluetooth. And Bluetooth's a great thing because now you can be inside your truck and talk to yourself. And people don't even bat an eye, you know. You're sitting next to you at the stoplight, and you're like, he must have missed a couple doses. I don't know what's going on. Well, now I think, oh, he must have Bluetooth. Yeah, okay. Now his hands-free talking. So on my truck dash, I have a bunch of gauges. I have a fuel gauge, I have a temperature gauge, I have air pressure gauge. My truck tells me if my tires are pressure low or low. I got all kinds of gauges that allows me to see how the truck's running without having to get out and check it. Okay? So what this author contends is that we have gauges too, which are things that we can check throughout our day that will keep us in line. So this is our dashboard. And the 4 gauges that he talks about is one is our spiritual intimacy. What's this one? That's a pretty good size rock. This one is our character. The next one is our relations. And the 4th one, which is a pretty big one for me, is service. I'm a service kind of guy. That's how I show my appreciation to people that do stuff. Probably why I end up in, I asked my son, I said, you think that I got in the fire service because of who I am? Or I am who I am because I got in the fire service? Is it a chicken or the egg? I suffer from PTSD. I've had it for a while. And a lot of people I can talk to, and it's been an arduous thing to try to get insurance companies to pay for treatment for guys who have PTSD. Because it's more of an emotional thing, but it causes them to do other things like alcoholism and drugs. and fooling around and doing other things. And so it can manifest in a different way, but the bottom line is that it's still dealing with the stuff that you see. And so what I tell paramedics and stuff, say, we train you how to do this job, but what we don't do is train you how to deal with what you're going to see. Now, I look at PTSD as a natural thing. You cannot see, like Andre. And I love when you guys did your testimony, because what you did is you opened up a window into your world. So we see something that happens to you, or what you go through with. You go with this guy, and everywhere we go, there's people, hey, take it on. Imagine that, trying to go to a restaurant when everybody in the town is looking at you, is like, what's going on? What are we going to do today? How are we going to beat Oak Creek?
When are you going to throw the ball?
When are you going to you know, so you deal with that. But it opened the window. So here's a window in my world. We got a call for a Carver's truck. It's on Highway 31 in Spring Street, busy intersection. We get up there, I see a car off the curb up against a hydrant. A gravel truck is halfway up onto the grass. There's already about 10 people gathered around us by the time we pull up. And as we come up around the gravel truck, there are people that are sobbing. And I look and I realize there's a car underneath that gravel truck.
Oh.
The driver of the truck, the gravel truck, is sobbing. So we come around the front, I look at it like, oh man, you could barely see the car underneath this truck. The truck went completely over the top. And when it did, it sheared out part of the roof. And the 8 posts that hold the windshield and hold the roof up have now cut through the radiator hose on the gravel truck, so now it's been spraying hot radiator fluid inside the car. Not a good scene. Not a good, you don't have really good expectations when you get on that. So I'm thinking that, so I'm gearing up thinking, who we got to call, who else need I need a scene, do I need a tow truck, I need heavy rescue, we got a lot of stuff to do. So we end up, so I was able to gain access to this person, and I find out I see that's a young girl. She has a pair of purple leather boots on. And she's a very young girl that's in there. And I try to get in there. Most of the radiator fluid is already drained out, but it's still dripping. I'm gonna turn off here. It protects me, but I gotta get a pulse. And I'm not gonna get too far into the graphics, but when you get hit with that hot fluid, it burns and blisters immediately and then blows. So there's a lot of burn skin. So I gotta get in there, get a pulse, no pulse. So I said, okay, I talked to my crew chief. I said, Perry, this is a recovery now. We're not gonna perform a rescue. So what we need to do is we gotta crib this truck, because if we start to cut this car apart, we change the integrity of this car, that truck and all its weight could drop on us. So we gotta be safe on this. So we got pressure bags, we got 36,000 K bags and stuff we can put underneath and actually inflate those and get the weight of the truck off the car, so now we can cut the car apart and get her out. So as we're doing that, I look over and I see in the crowd, and there's an elderly gentleman who's trying to work his way into the front, and he has a little boy about this tall, and he's like getting him to the front of the people. And I kind of look at him like, what do you want him to see? Why are you trying to get him up front here to see? So I look over, and some of our guys are always grabbing blankets, and they're trying to create a screen. So as we take this person out, we hope that all our parts come with her, but we obviously don't want people to see what we're doing. So we do our thing. We get her packaged up. Now, police are there, coroner comes, Department of Transportation come, because they are going to crawl up the exhaust pipe of this gravel truck. They're going to measure tire depth, brake line thickness, the tires themselves, the service record on this vehicle. They are going to be all over this truck to find out how this happened. And we found out how it happened. This girl was at the intersection. A smaller pickup truck was coming up to the intersection. He started slowing down because the light turned yellow. The gravel truck decided he was going to make the light, went around the pickup truck. The girl probably saw the smaller pickup truck slowing down, so thought, well, I can make my left turn now on the Spring Street, and he nailed the broadside. And pushed her 40, 50 feet up into the grass, and that's a lot of force on that. That information comes back to us later. Also about the girl. Because this girl got in a fight with her dad on her way to go get these boots. She saved her money for these boots. She wanted a pair of Doc Marten purple leather boots, and Dad said, "This is stupid. That's a waste of money. They're over $100. Why would you do that?" The last conversation he had with his daughter was, "That's stupid. Why are you doing that?" She loved these boots so much after she bought them that she actually wore them home, but she never got home. She never made it home. So part of that, what I see is it's not just a patient. It's not just a victim. This is a 16-year-old girl, and how devastating this is to the whole family. How devastating it is to all brothers and sisters and her high school friends and everybody. And this is going to be in the paper, and everybody's going to hear about this, and their lives have changed forever from that. That weight I feel on my shoulders, because my job is to make something good happen out of this, and I can't. There's nothing I can do. And you go away from that and talk to your buddies, and you're like, oh man, you know, and it's a constant thing. There's nothing we could have done. There's nothing we could have done. And she was dead before we got there. There's nothing we could have done. I know, but that face is now in my Rolodex of faces that likes to be on a loop when I have a moment. And I flip through those, and I see those images again and again, and that's one of 1,000. But they said, well, that's what you signed up for. You have no idea what you signed up for. And to try to talk to a psychiatrist or somebody there who's not been in the field, who does, Hans has been there, and Andre's been there, and you see that stuff, and you see the wreckage, and the amount of energy that happens at some of these injuries, and you try to put that in a box and lock it up, and take the key out and say, stay in there. And you think you got it, and it could be a few years. I got it, and then that's all it takes is something to unlock that. I had trouble dealing with that, and and this is a little bit of my testimony, because I went to church with my wife, and I didn't listen at first. I'm like, okay, peace be with you. Yes, okay. Now we get to go have breakfast. Because I'm thinking about what I want to have for breakfast. So, but I started realizing that I couldn't get rid of this stuff. I have a CPAP, because I have sleep apnea, and I had a mask for a long time. Last story. And so I had a mask for a long time. And so I would wake up, because I would imagine this room that we hit that was on fire, and I'd wake up and I could still feel my MSA mask, my fire department mask, but it was my CPAP mask. So you wake up and you're in the middle of, is this well, that's a ceiling fan, wait a minute. I'm in my room. But your heart's still going 120 beats a minute. And your respiration is about 40 a minute. But what I learned by started listening to God is that, and what I started to put into that is like, all those times that He was there for me, He was also there to say, I got that part. You don't have to go over this stuff in your head constantly. There are some things that we learn from our failures, and failure is the best teacher, and we either learn from it or we are destined to be dragged down by it, and you drag it around like a brick in your backpack. But God taught me how to actually give that to Him. Because He said, look, you are not going to lose you are not going to win a tug of war with me. You're not. If I want them, you're not getting them. I don't care what you do. They're mine. But I don't want you to stop. I don't want you to quit. I don't want you to give up and say you're a failure. I gave you these gifts. I gave you for a reason. You need to keep using them. There's a reason for why you guys do it. There's a reason why you learn to do what you have. There's a reason why you learn gifts, not just with your brain, but with your hands. There's a reason for that, and God gave us those gifts, and we need to use those to help the rest of His children. I gave my son a baseball glove. Really nice, an A2000. He's like, Dad, this is an A2000. This is a $150 baseball glove. Man, this thing is like butter soft leather. It's like, makes coffee in the morning. This thing's like, the ball thing's like a magnet to the ball. You can be 5 feet away from the ball and it doesn't matter where it is. It's 11.5-inch wet, man. That baby's small. Make double plays. I'm like, he said, thank you for this glove. Thank you. I'll cherish this thing. I said, you want to thank me? Use the glove and make some amazing plays and help your team win. And that's how you can thank me. Wasn't that what God's saying? I gave you some gifts. use the gifts, and make people's lives better because of it. I'm like, well, that's a pretty simple concept. I think Jesus wanted to keep it simple for us. He's like, we're going to. So he's like, I have a simple concept for you. So the question is, how do we use that? How do we put that to use in our daily life with the gifts we have? And so Pete Brown kind of hits it on the head. And so I'm going to show you what he does. But he talks about spiritual intimacy. I'm going to read this to you because this is how he defines it, which is pretty cool. He looks at this as like our relationship with God is a vertical thing. Our relationship to each other is a horizontal thing. Okay? So he says, spiritual intimacy is about receiving love from God, abiding in, loving, becoming one with, and having a friendship with Christ. Sounds pretty basic. As a wellspring for Christian life, and this is going to lead into the rest of it, our intimacy with God shouldn't turn us inward. Instead, it should overflow to the rest of our life. If we understand and receive God's lavish love for us, then it impacts our character. As Scripture says, if you love me, keep my commands. That's John 14:15. In other words, our love for God will lead to godly choices and actions. Similarly, if we internalize God's love, it will impact our relationships. As Jesus said, my command is this: love each other as I have loved you. And that's John 15:12. Finally, if we understand even a tiny fraction of the magnitude of God's love for us and the entire world, then His love will overflow through us in a service to a world in need. So that's how he ties in these four things. So it's like, okay, Mark, you got rocks in a pitcher. What is that? So when we talk about, so that's our spiritual thing. We talk about character. What do you think of when you think of character? Character is who we are.
Consistent actions, doing things that are good for you and good for others.
It's who we are. It's how we, John is bringing it on. God's always this. The mic is always on. And God's always watching. So it's who we are when we don't think anybody's watching. Kind of, right? It says the word character is derived from the Greek term that refers to engraving, implying that character is the sum of the indelible marks imprinted on you which shape your thoughts and behavior. Character is your inner substance, the content of your heart that is manifested through your behavior and value. Character, in other words, is who you are when nobody's looking. The real you. So if I look at my spiritual intimacy, I'm going to cover four of these and then we'll do that one. So the next one after character is relational. So we can certainly connect to God vertically through prayer, but to feel His grace completely, we have to open our hearts to the full expression of it horizontally through people. As we seek to lead ourselves, we need relationships. We need community. As Christ followers, we are one part of a larger body. We need the support, gifts, and accountability of the larger body. We need to foster healthy friendships. We need to love our neighbors, engage in a local church, support the marginalized, and be ambassadors who build bridges to those who don't yet follow Jesus. Those who are married need to nurture their marriages and invest in their children. So that's our relation. And the last one is service. We are not called to serve in order to earn acceptance or favor with God. We're not called to serve to do that. That's not our poker chips that we get to add up. Service is an outflow and a privilege from our position in Christ. We have been created for works of service and to contribute to God's mission. As Paul wrote, for we are God's handiwork, created in Christ Jesus to do good works. This isn't reserved for pastors and missionaries, or just when we volunteer at church or in the community. It's for all followers of Christ, regardless of vocation, and it includes the 100+ waking hours you spend living, working, and serving on the front lines of life Monday through Saturday. So each one of these builds on the other one. So when I talk about my God bubble, my truck, it gives me an opportunity. When I get my truck in the morning, I'm going to head to work. It gives me an opportunity to sit in my truck, turn the seat, I get the heater on, I got a remote control, remote start, click, click, and it warms up. I get into a warm truck. I get my seat adjusted, steering adjusted, I put on K-Love, I'm backing out and heading to work. I have about 40 minutes to drive. I can control everything that's going on inside my truck. And that thing just floats down the road. My wife said, God, you're in love with that truck. What is it? You know, what is it with you guys in your trucks? What? I said, it's a 1500. I'm like, Tom's got a 2500. Jeff Allheight's got a 3500. Yeah, that's what I'm talking about. She said, it's an extension of your. It's not. It's not. Honey, where do you come up with this stuff? From the way you talk. That's how I come up with it. But I get to control everything in that. And so in my morning drive to work, this is what I can work on the way there. So if I start my day by having a spiritual intimacy conversation with God, thanking God for another day, and please help me out with my knee, help me out with my back. Please use it as pain-free as possible so I can help others who are in a lot more pain than I am, and don't turn me into one. I gotta tell you this. So I got an injection one a few times. I've had chronic pain for, I don't know how long. I got plenty of messed up, you know. You do a service like that, your body's like, that's stupid stuff you were doing when you were younger. I remembered. So I got an injection, and I felt great, and it lasted for a long time. And I came home, and I told my wife, it's like, I just want to apologize, babe. I grew up as a kid, and you're always told, don't be in a whiny crybaby. Man, if you whine or complain at the firehouse, somebody starts crying like, why you kind of hurt? You know, this stupid stuff. You get a lot of crap for it. Sorry, guys. So I'm not a whiny crybaby. But if my pain turns me into a sarcastic jerk, which it does, and I can be really good at it, that doesn't make me any easier to live with either, right? She goes, yeah, well, yeah, and you can be. But I knew you were in pain, so I said, okay, so how many get out of jail free cards do I get? Because you knew I was in pain, that was my excuse. The reality is, if I think I'm this big, tough, retired fireman, whatever, that I should just nut up and shut up and just not take it out on other people and just deal with it, right? So I have to work on that. But when it comes to my spirituality, I get to have my conversation with God in the morning and talk to Him and say, guide me through my day today. Help me be the person you want me to be. Help me be good with other people. So I start with my spiritual intimacy. That starts to work on my character because we have a lot of rules in healthcare. It's probably the most regulated job on the planet is healthcare are the rules. I got to follow those rules. If I don't have a good character, I may try taking shortcuts or not doing the things I should do. So I think about my character when I'm going to work, and it's my character that affects my relations with my coworkers. Because if I'm not a whiny crybaby, but if I'm being sarcastic to my coworkers, whoo, man, they let you know real quick too. So I'm going to think about my relationship. And that, in turn, is going to, see how I marked that, even put top. So, because they got to fit the picture. So, and this affects my service, everything I do. For that whole day, and the care that I give to the patients and how I treat them, how I talk to them and everything, that is my service. The best compliment you can get is when a patient comes into the building and says, is Mark here? Because I know he's here. And they'll follow him wherever he goes. And then we have other clinics that he goes to. And if they don't like the way we treat him, they're like, well, okay, I'm not coming here again, but I'm not going to give up on him. So I'm going to go see him in another clinic. I'm going to come here. Tom does an amazing job as a physician. And one of the biggest things, I think, the biggest part of his practice, but it's also, he said, well, if you're going to make me wait, then make it worth my wait. And he makes it worth their wait. He doesn't come in and say, oh, how's it going? Okay, we're going to get to it. Okay, let me just mark your back. Okay, we'll see you in 10 minutes. Okay. How's it going? How are things getting? What do you think about this? Because here's our other options. Like, and so he makes it worth their wait, which is what you should do. You know, patients should know that they have options. They explain to them what you're really doing, you know. So I try to carry off of that and say, do you understand what he's saying? But I can only do that if I really care about my service and what I do. So, fit that in the picture. Now, those are my biggest, most important things, and I try to remember it all the time. It's like, my most important conversation I have in the morning is the conversation I have with God. That, of the whole day, that's my most important conversation, what I have with God. Because I can start working on other things in my day, then start, I'm going to spill this, but I can put all kinds of other things in my day. Because, so, I mean, I gotta look at this, with these rocks in here, is this pitcher full? It really isn't full, is it? Because now I can put more stuff in it. So I'm going to put more stuff in it, so I can look like I'm going to fill it up. That's why I didn't use real gravel. It's easier to clean up. And then, so those are little things. I mean, that can be getting my lunch ready, or talking to the kids, or checking my emails. Some of this is brushing my teeth. Some of this is having to plow my driveway this morning. So even with that is the pitcher full?
No.
Okay, so that means I still got room to put other stuff in. I try to fill that up. But you can look at this and say, well, if you work hard, you can get more stuff in that pitcher. But the other way to look at it is that if you fill this pitcher up with all of the little things and all the less important things, that you're not going to have enough room to get the real important things in. Because you spend too much of your day worrying about the little stuff. See what I'm saying? So if I put in my head in the morning, and this goes, I get back in my God bubble at the end of my day at work. I'm back in my God bubble. I got that 40-minute drive back home. So now I can go back to my spiritual intimacy. I can go back to my character. I can go back to my relations and back to my service, because now I got to be that kind of person for my wife when I get home. So it starts my day. It ends my work day, but it starts my evening with my wife and my grandkids, or whatever the rest of it. So that 40-minute time in my God bubble gives me an opportunity to that. I can decompress, people like to use that word. I can bitch about whoever was rude to me at the job or whatever, but I'm not bringing it home. I'm not bringing it home to my wife. What good does that do? I can vent. If I ask her for how to fix something, unless it's that, why should I cause that be our conversation at dinner because it pissed me off sometime during the day? I don't need to bring that home and share with her. I want to come home and let's talk about what the grandkids are doing and what's going on and what did I not do for you today, honey, and I'm going to get to that. I see it. Like my honeymoon list, and I see you put the things you want me to do on the top of the list, even though, okay, But it gives me an opportunity to reset from that part of my day to my evening and my relationships and my service to my wife and my spiritual intimacy with God. So I love my truck for a lot more reasons than the fact that it's at 1500, it's got a heavy. For more reasons than that, is that it gives me that moment in time and two spaces in my day to have God help guide me through my day. So when I think back to my rope, and I think of, okay, so if I'm working on, I know how to do this real good, I've got this pretty much figured out, getting close to retirement. I don't think I'll ever retire. I told Tom, I was like, I'm going to keep working. I just want to be able to decide when I get to take a break, or when I'm getting hungry and I want to eat, that I get to dictate when that happens. I don't care. I'm going to make fire department tables out and do something. I'm going to make some kind of wood stuff. But if I think about how can I incorporate God into my day, this I find, and I have some quotes in my truck on the dashboard because it's a reminder to me, is to not get caught up what's going on the radio, not get caught up on other stuff. Focus on God, you're in your God bubble, focus on God for your day so that you come in with the right attitude and how to help. We try to start doing prayers in our group, at our clinic, and we have a few people that have joined us. It's hard because you hit the ground running because you got so much to do and so many patients to see, and so it's like trying to get that few minutes. But I swear, it changes the attitude of the people that are there. I will get a chance to talk to some people there. When people are in pain, they're really open to accepting God. Because they feel so helpless and hopeless. You know, pain will change your attitude. I find it, I tell my wife, pain's a 4-letter word that makes me think of other 4-letter words. And most of them I can't say in front of the kids, you know. But I can imagine what some of these people are dealing with. They don't need me saying, well, yeah, well, I got a bad knee, you know. You don't need to hear that. Well, let's take care of you. So if I'm working on this, and in the back of my mind, this prepares me for this. This is part of this. And if I put the big rocks in and work on those first, the other things will take care of themselves. I had an evaluation once from my manager, and she's like, well, you scored really high on all of these things. I'm like, well, thanks. I mean, I don't work for you guys, but I do, you know, but I don't. She's like, what do you mean? I said, well, I work for him. So if I can meet his expectations, these are a piece of cake. These ones that you have here on paper are a piece of cake. Right? It could change my attitude and stuff. So that I know when I get to heaven, and I'm sitting there, and I'm like this. Because I can't stand up straight. Mark, you made it. I knew you could do it. I knew you'd do it. First thing he's going to say, who'd you bring with you? That's what he's going to ask me. Because I can talk all this smack I want, but if I'm not really spreading the word of Jesus to other people and other guys who are saying, yeah, I want to be on that team, man. I want to do that stuff. I didn't really do my job. Because it's not about me. You know, it's not about me getting in. It's about how many people, you know. There's a song out there called Nobody by Casting Crowns. And I'm not going to sing it to you. But, I know, but he says, he's like, I'm just a nobody trying to tell everybody all about somebody who saved my soul. And ever since you rescued me, he gave my heart a song to sing. I'm living for the world to see nobody but Jesus. I'm not here for a legacy. I'm not here for fame and fortune. That's not what he put me on here for. I'm here to spread the word of Jesus. That's what I want to remember when they remember me. So when I get to this point, and I'm ready to cross over, and God said, you did it right. I got you in. And I got these 5 latrines right over here. Because you're so good at what you did, I'll give you 5 more. And I'm like, you know what? I'm okay with that. I'll work my way up if I have to. Because if I not just have a purpose-driven life, I might have a purpose-driven eternity too, and that's what he's been preparing me for. It's like, you're going to send me down to hell, you know, I will pull it out. I will put that fire out. You want to send me down, I'm not staying down there. But I will put it out for you. So that's me. You guys have anything to add or share with that, man? I love to hear it. You know, we all have our ideas on how things should be. But man, it is a daily reminder we need to do to stay focused, because man, there's so much out there that can take us off the path. You know? But out of my God bubble, because I can control what I take in here and what I take in here. And there's a lot of construction going on I-94. There's been a ton of accidents going on out there. For me, the biggest concern I have is I see all the cars in my parking lot. I know who drives what. I mean, I know who cars who. So one of the things I don't want to have happen is to come across one of those cars. Somebody that I work with has been in an accident. It's had a couple times where I've been across some accidents. And I tell God, send me there. Oh, fine. You know how you're going to do it? He's going to put 3 school buses in front of me on the way to work. Because he's like, I know you're going to turn off. You're going to go north on 75, because that's why I put 3 school buses in front of you. What? Okay, fine. You want me to go this way? I'll go this way. And that happened one day, and it's the last story. But that happened to me because he knows I hate driving. School buses are, okay? I'm going this way. And then I'm going west on KR, or east on KR. And I come up and here's a big gravel truck halfway off the road on KR, just about a mile west of the interstate. And the car in front of me goes around the truck, and as I'm going around the truck, I glance up and the driver's getting out and he's got his hand on his neck and there's blood between his fingers. And I'm like, what the heck? Because he's like 8 feet up, you know, in the air. He gets out, I pull over, I come over by him. I'm like, what happened? He goes, well, a deer got hit by a car and it got launched and it hit his windshield.
No.
It hit the mirror and it broke the driver's side window.
Wow.
So, windshields are layered glass. 2 pieces of glass with a plastic in the center. They're designed to not punch out when they get hit. The glass that's on driver's doors and stuff, we call it popcorn glass, it's tempered glass, breaks up into little pieces. So the only thing that probably would cut his neck was the mirror that got broken. And he had a slice about that long, whole side of his neck. He had a shirt tucked on behind his back on the seat. I grabbed his shirt, stuck it on his neck. He's on his phone. When I said, who are you talking to? He goes, I'm talking to 911. I said, I'll talk to him. Have a seat right there. I checked his pulse. Very fast, but strong. I could feel it. Keep pressure on that. I'm talking to dispatcher. Then his boss calls. Then his wife calls. And I take the phone over to him. In the meantime, a school teacher from Union Grove had stopped there. She's trying to help. Another school teacher ended up stopping to help. They're holding pressure on his neck. Says, just do that. You guys are doing great. I hand the phone to his wife. He's talking to his wife. He said, yeah, you're going to have to take me to the hospital. You know, he's like, calm down. He's like, okay, just call me when you get your wife all the way. You're doing okay. I get his phone back. I end up talking to the dispatch again, and because it's so foggy, and I said, we need a couple more deputies out here because it's so hard to see. And she's like, are you by Crystal Lane? I said, honey, I can't see 50 feet either way. I said, we're a mile west of the interstate. So Union Grove first responders showed up. They had a first aid kit. I got to get to work. So I get to work. I'm late for a meeting, and I'm sitting in a meeting. And my boss is sitting right next to me, and she taps me and she goes, I'm like, what? She goes, you have blood on your ear.
Wow.
I'm like, what? She goes, you have blood on your ear. I'm like, I'll tell you later. So later on, I told her, you know, what had happened. And it turns out Tammy, one of our girls, knew the wife of this guy. He ended up being admitted. He missed his carotid artery about a centimeter.
Oh.
Very lucky. I think he had 14 stitches in his neck from that. So he's a lucky guy. I found him on Facebook, and I said, hug your kids every day. And don't argue with your wife. So I scolded him, but I had Jesus in the sentences. You know, I consider yourself a lucky guy. But I knew that God wanted me to go that way. He wanted me to be there at that moment, because it couldn't have been better timing than exactly right there. That he's getting out of the truck. Because you're going to think, how do you get hit by anything up there when you're 8 feet up in the air? It's a quad axle Kenworth. That thing's a big gravel truck. But I realized that that's what God does to me. So I don't get as upset when I'm in traffic now, because I realize, okay, well, you're sending me now. But the whole point of this is I have this attitude that they use me. I got first aid kit in my truck. I'm ready to respond. That was one of my specialties when I was on the fire, was vehicle extrication and working on that. And God knows, it's like, that is your forte. I'm going to send you there because they need somebody there. Now, my attitude when I'm going to work is like, send me where you need me to go. I'm there. So I'm hoping that when I get past the end of this, that he has a purpose like that for me. I'm like, that would be heaven. Because I feel that that's what gives me the most worth. That's what makes me feel like God gives us worth. And I'm the person, and I'm done, but I'm a person who always needed words of affirmation to feel worthy from other people. And yeah, you know, we go on fire calls, whatever, and we get in trouble because we come out of a house fire and we're high-fiving each other because we made a good hit. You guys are happy, but the neighbor, the owner who's over there is not happy that you guys were enjoying what you were doing in that house fire. So you need to tone it down a little bit. Okay, we celebrate back at the station. Don't do it on the driveway. Man, that was exciting. We kicked ass there. Okay. So, but I needed words of affirmation from other people to feel worth. And once I got into my heart, I'm like, I'm worthy. I mean, he gives me grace. He gives me everything. I don't need it from other people, but when people do compliment what I do, I think, that's all for him. That's what I'm doing it for. All of that, if I do the job, it's for God. So I give it to God. It's just payback for all he gives to me. All right?
Amen.
All right. And